Hey, what's going on, everybody? Steve here, Rake and Profit, and I received a comment recently on YouTube saying it's not worth going to Goodwills anymore because they scan all of the books. And I wanted to talk about this topic from my experience, from a lot of the community members on YouTube, Instagram, so on and so forth. I've had a lot of conversations with people who thrift full-time. Now, I don't thrift full-time anymore. I used to for many years, and I dealt with this situation where sometimes I would just stop going to a Goodwill or a thrift store in particular because I noticed that they were scanning all the books. And how do you know if they're scanning all the books? And what I mean is, at the thrift store, there's donations, right? And some of these thrift stores, they will literally be in the back room scanning all of the books and selling them online. Goodwill, they have a website, I think it's Goodwill.org, where they sell a lot of their products, books, DVDs, toys, all different types of items. And for the OGs, for the folks who have been thrifting for, 10 plus years, you remember all the opportunities that you used to be able to find in the Goodwill glass case. Now, Goodwill still has a glass case. So does my local Savers. And I remember just finding jackpots in there, gems, just hidden treasures. And typically in the glass case, items would be, quite a bit more expensive. You wouldn't find, an item that's normally on the floor for $3.99 in the glass case. Although sometimes you would. Many times, more often than not, it would be $12, $13, $14. But we didn't mind because we could flip those items for $60, $70, $80, $100 plus, or pay $50 and sell it for $300. Those days are gone for the most part. But it really depends on the thrift store that you're going to. Not all of the Goodwills are scanning the books or, looking all the items up beforehand and selling them online. Matter of fact, a couple of years ago, I had a conversation with one of the managers at my local Goodwill, and they actually had stopped. I don't know if they're back to doing it again, but they actually had stopped scanning all of the books beforehand. They were, but they realized this is a lot of work, and it's a completely different model, having to scan all the items, find all the good ones, obviously ship them out to, I think they had a warehouse or something where they would sell all the stuff online. Goodwill would. It's probably different based on the state, but not all of the Goodwills are doing this. Some of them start doing it, and then they realize, wow, this is a lot more work. I'd rather just put it on the floor, and when it sells, although I'm not going to get as much, there's no returns, or if they do return it, they get, customers will get like a gift card, or they'll be able to, buy another item. They don't get their cash back typically at Goodwill. But not all of the Goodwills do this. Some of them start doing it and then they stop doing it. Some of them do it for a long time and then they quit. Others, they scan every single item. And if you're wondering, how do you know if a thrift store is scanning all of the books? Well, there's a couple different ways you can go about it. Number one, build rapport, build relationships with the employees, build relationships with the manager. And when the time's right, you could always ask, hey, my name's Steve. I'm a local reseller. I sell items on eBay and Amazon. If you want, you don't have to. And say, hey, I was just curious. I spend a lot of money here. I buy a lot of items. Do you scan any of the items and sell them on Goodwill? Because, hey, if you are, that's fine. Maybe I'll start looking online as well, because I've noticed, and you could say this if you want, I've noticed there's less inventory, so on and so forth, and just be direct if you want, so you could always ask. Another thing is, if you've been thrifting for a while at a particular store and you notice, wow, the quality's really gone down. I used to be able to find 5, 10, 15 books. They could be scanning it, right? They could be scanning the items and selling it online. You could also look on eBay, right? Sometimes, and I'm not an expert with this, I don't know exactly how Goodwill does it, but I know there's different, Goodwills and thrift stores will be online. So you could always do a search, and you could search eBay by location, and you could see if there's a Goodwill. I've never really done that before, but sometimes if you're just not getting as much inventory, they could be selling it online, or there just might not be as many donations, or you might be getting beat to the punch by other resellers. Are you seeing a lot of other resellers at the thrift store scanning? Are you bumping into a lot of competitors, right? So ask yourselves these questions. But at the end of the day, if you're thrifting and you're full-time, you can't control if they're selling the items online. Well, maybe you could a little bit if you strike a deal with them. I've actually had friends of mine who used to pick up gaylords of books and do pallets of books at the Goodwill. I never had success with this. I had a friend that used to do this, and it was actually a girl that I know. I think she was in South Carolina. I think her name was Shannon. Shout out to Shannon if you're watching. But I know she had done this a couple of times, and she had to have a truck and all that. So I know not everybody's going to have the equipment to pick up pallets and whatnot. And these were unfiltered or unsorted pallets. So she was buying like a big pallet of books, and then she would scan all of them and, you know, get rid of the duds and find the good ones. My good friend Avery, you guys probably know Avery RoR. He used to build relationships with the thrift stores. This is back in the day before he got into like OA and wholesale, and he would get backroom access. He would build relationships and say, hey, can I go in the back room and scan the books? I just don't see this being like something that you could probably do too often depending on the thrift store, because a lot of thrift stores probably have like, there's probably liability issues with letting just the the customers go into the back room and scan. But I've heard a lot of people do this. So you could build relationships, try to, you know, build relationships to get pallets, backroom access, but really you can't control it if you exhaust all your options. All you can do is choose carefully what thrift stores you want to visit, how frequently you want to go, how hard you hit the thrift stores. And what I mean by that is, are you going in and just cherry picking, or are you scanning everything? Obviously, you're going to have more success if you scan all the books, and if you set up really good triggers in Scout IQ and Scoutly. Get a good barcode scanner, scan, you know, all the books. You know, one thing that my mom used to do, and I had her do this years ago when she started, I had her bring a little notepad with her and a pen, and she would write down every day and every time that she would go to the different thrift stores in our area, and she would pretty much just write down how many books she found, how much potential profit, and she got to get a good feel of what thrift stores were most profitable. But you can't control the competition. You can't control the donations. You can just control how you source and how often you go. So it's always great to, you know, start experimenting with library sales, local pickups with Nextdoor app, maybe do some pickups from Amazon to Amazon, do some Amazon to Amazon flips, Facebook Marketplace pickups, eBay to Amazon flips. There's a lot of different, you know, alternative options to thrift stores. But, you know, it's still worth going. I don't think that every single thrift store, I know for a fact, not every single thrift store is scanning all the books. At least in my area, you know, we still find, and my mom, you know, she picks all the time at these thrift stores. She's still finding a bunch of deals at the Savers and Goodwill. And when I go in from time to time, when I'm not sitting back and just sourcing from eBay to Amazon, I'll go in and I find deals. I would say there's not as many deals nowadays as there used to be back in 2015 and 16, but you just got to get creative and, you know, just work hard. There's plenty of opportunities and books out there. You just got to find them. So with that being said, much love. Appreciate you guys. Drop a comment down below. Would love to know what you think and your experience with thrift stores. Are they scanning all the books? Are you finding deals? Have you talked to the managers? What are they doing? And let me know where you're from. So yeah, with that being said, much love. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.
All I needed was a beat. All I needed was a beat. All I needed was a beat. All I needed was a beat.